Hello, San Diego, and welcome to the San Diego Edit podcast. My name is Adrienne Holmes, your host, where we are committed to covering everything you need to know in San Diego. Joining us today is Leah Brown, a licensed nurse practitioner and visionary founder of Biohacker, a wellness sanctuary nestled here in Poway. Leah is at the forefront of biohacking, which is revolutionizing wellness by using science and technology with a little bit of personal experimentation to help clients attain their optimum health and wellness goals. Leah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Adrienne, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited. I've been working with you closely for several years now, and you've really helped me improve my cognitive function and my recovery from athletic performance, that I was just really excited to have you come on today and share a little bit more about Biohacker, how it came to be, and then some of the revolutionary treatments and options that you guys have available.
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up here in Poway, just like you. We're both native to Poway. And growing up here, I was just so involved in health, wellness, hiking, going out in nature. And I realized later on that I wanted to take my passion for health and healing into more of a integrative approach to health. I graduated from nursing school in 2008. And after nursing school, I did the traditional model of the hospital system.
Yes.
Yes. And realizing that it's really hard to be able to give people what they want.
Yes.
And spend that time with a 15-minute appointments with each person.
And it's almost more reactionary. It seems like Western medicine versus Eastern. And it kind of seems to me like Biohacker's kind of an infusion of both, where you're not just reacting to a health issue or a symptom, but you're actually being proactive.
Yes.
And that's what I love about what you guys offer.
Yes, exactly. It's about looking proactively into how we can help heal both from the inside out by ways of looking at really mind, body, spirit, and how we can take what we learn from the Western medicine and combine that with Eastern medicine, and in the sense, and really looking at the person as a whole, because really we're not broken. Some of our medical models, when I say are broken, so how we have to really see how we can take really the best of all aspects and help heal that way. So that's what I was trying to do, is look at different models. And how Biohacker was formed is that my husband was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2014.
Wow.
And we did the traditional, at that time I wasn't as familiar with biohacking, or I was not as familiar with other ways of healing. So we did the traditional chemo and radiation.
Right.
It really put a toll on his body and his mind. We don't realize that chemo really can hinder the mind as far as cognitive function and brain function, and makes people tired and fatigued, et cetera. So after he was done with chemo and radiation, luckily he's doing well now.
Awesome. Yeah. No, thank God Joe's doing well. That's good.
He's doing well. But we realized his body was frail. His mind was frail. And, his oncologist at the time said, you're done with chemo and radiation. Why don't you go and have a hamburger? And that was exactly what he said. Have a hamburger and milkshake, have a beer and go celebrate. And that was like the words that the oncologist used. I'm like, well, something doesn't sound right about that. We're trying to heal the body. And so we decided, okay, let's look at other alternatives. So we actually went to a conference. We found something called PEMF, which really helps. It stands for Pulse Electromagnetic Field Therapy. I know, a long word, but basically what this does is it brings energy into the cells. So it heals the mitochondria of the cells, which are the energy pack of the cells, and stimulate one's own healing. So it's a way to heal your own body, get energized from your own cells, your own body, because we all can heal ourselves if we really, when I say listen, or listen to our bodies. So we found this technology, and as I learned more about this, I realized a lot of athletes use it, a lot of biohackers use it.
Interesting.
Tony Robbins has a couple of these, one on his plane, and one, he just takes to all of his conferences because it really does energize and really helps heal. So that really helped him recover from chemo.
Okay.
The infrared sauna is another great way. Infrared penetrates about an inch and a half into the body. So what it does, it kind of stirs up the toxins, so to speak, and then you're able to sweat them out by using infrared heat.
Okay.
So it's another great way. A lot of people now have, mercury and toxins and different, plastics in their body,
Right.
toxins, so to speak. So it's just a great way to sweat it out. So after Joe did those two devices, he felt so much better. And we just bought him for our house. We just had him
Right.
so he can do it daily. And when we saw the progress and how much better he felt, we decided to open up a place here in Poway, since this is my community and the
Right.
community that I love. And hopefully we can help other people that way.
Right.
And so it just started as a very small spa wellness center. We had a couple infrareds, a couple PEMFs, and advertised locally, and just was trying to get people in who may have been in the same situation and wanted to recover and wanted to feel better.
And it seems like it was really a word of mouth.
Yeah.
As soon as you guys really took a foothold, it seemed like all the moms were talking about it, or we'd run into each other in there.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And that's what's so great about Poway. It is word of mouth. And San Diego is just, you talk to the moms and talk to other people. And it was so great that, just the community support.
This is a great community.
It sure is, yes.
So you've given us a little bit of some of the services that you offer there. How do you personalize a wellness program for your clients?
Yeah, so, again, everyone's journey is unique. So I have them come in, we discuss, set up a consultation, discuss what their goals, what their visions, what their health concerns, their energy levels. We have so many people, especially, women, I don't want to call it midlife, because who knows, but going through hormonal changes, right? Where maybe not feeling like themselves, or low energy, or even depression, anxiety. And we now know that is related to hormones. It's not necessarily that you need an antidepressant. It could be that you need your hormones optimized.
I see.
So that's something that I really am passionate about now, because I feel like women's health is really underserved. It's again, one of those in today's society that we don't really look at women as, maybe needing hormones or needing, these things. But we know that hormones are good for women's brain, reduces cardiovascular risk, helps us actually live longer. By
so many benefits.
Bone health, preventing osteoporosis, osteopenia. So I feel like that's something that needs to be addressed more. And today, I'd love to address it more. And, so some things that I'm focusing a lot with women population.
That's wonderful. And what do you think overall, Leah, separates you guys, Biotique, from other wellness centers? Yeah,
I think a lot of people enjoy coming to us because we really do care for our clients. We spend a lot of time. A person just isn't a number or, money, so to speak. It's actually, we care about the whole human being. Right. And my staff is fantastic.
They really are. I can attest to that for sure.
Thank you. We love just, the smiles on people's face and being able to really help them, because I think that's what, life is about, is how we can help one another,
absolutely,
through this journey.
So I know you had mentioned hormone replacement therapy. What are some of the common signs that someone might think, okay, I could actually benefit from this? What would they be seeing that would encourage them to come and see you?
Sure, yeah. So some of the common ones that we hear about are, night sweats or urinary incontinence. However, ones that are not as common are frozen shoulder, for example. Joint pains are some. Tinnitus, ringing of the ears. There's so many that we think, maybe that's more of a musculoskeletal issue. We should go to our surgeon or chiropractic, but it can actually be related to hormones. So anywhere from, as we know, like mood, sleep disturbance, to depression, anxiety. So those ones are huge. Brain fog. I have a lot of women who say, I just forget what I was talking about.
Why did I walk into this room?
Why did I walk in? Where are my keys? And then feeling really anxious. And so a lot of primary carers, and again, it's not their fault. They just weren't really trained in women's health back in the day, so to speak. So a lot of women are getting antidepressants rather than hormone replacement therapy. And so what's happening is, although maybe their anxiety, temporarily gets a little better, but some of their other symptoms, as far as libido, low libido is another one. We know antidepressants actually don't help with that.
Okay. It's almost counterproductive, right?
Okay. So it's almost the antidepressants are kind of putting a Band-Aid, on the issue.
And you guys are really dealing below the symptoms of what the core root is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the core root, is really looking at a woman's. We know that if she's lucky, she's going to go through the life changes, meaning she's living long enough to go through the life changes. So we know that we're all going to go. Hopefully, we're going to all go through it. Is one thing that's just part of life, but we don't have to suffer. So that's the gist. Is what I want to tell my women clients.
Okay.
That menopause, perimenopause is inevitable, but suffering is not. Yeah.
And now, men, do they have, as they age, do they have some ailments too? Do you use hormone therapy for men?
Yeah,
you do?
Yeah, I love hormone therapy for men. The same reasons why women need it, meaning depression, anxiety, low libido, low energy, problems or difficulty losing weight, more kind of fat around the midsection, and hence more cardiovascular risks that way as well. We know that men, have higher hip to waist ratio, has higher risk of cardiovascular disease. So with hormone replacement therapy for men, we have there's various testosterone replacement is our most common one because the same reason women's hormones decline, men's testosterone declines, women's testosterone declines as well. 100%. And what we notice with men as well, that really by replacing testosterone, they feel so much better. Almost like they feel, in their 20s again,
Really?
We do it, of course, by monitoring blood levels in a safe way. But really,
it's a game changer, really.
It's really a game changer, for a lot of people.
I know it's funny because when I went through menopause a couple years ago and had night sweats and all that kind of stuff, it's like it takes so much energy to do what you're already doing. And then it's just such a simple fix with, hormone replacement therapy. You feel better, you've got more energy. So it's good to know there's options for both men and women.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what, we want both men and women to know. Like, again, there's options for you. I understand there's some people may not choose to go that route with hormones. And I understand there's some medical conditions, et cetera, family history, et cetera. However, for most of us, it is an option. And a lot of it can be covered by insurance. If you ask your primary care, that's another, I always like to tell women, it doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
You kind of think of hormone replacement therapy, only for the elite or, for people who can afford it. But actually, the hormones are covered or they're FDA approved. So hence, most insurances cover. So if that's an option or if that's something people want, we can get an affordable option for people as well.
Well, that's great to know too.
Yeah.
And now in terms of peptide therapy, I was hoping that you could help the listeners understand that really aren't familiar with it. What is it? And what are the benefits of peptide therapy?
Sure. So peptides are short chain amino acids. We make peptides naturally in our body. There are many different type of peptides out there. There's some that build muscle. There's some for brain health. There's some for immune function. There's some for weight loss, which a lot of people hear about, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and those are actually peptides.
Okay.
So there's many different peptides, and what's nice about peptides are for the most majority, they're very safe. Used appropriately. Used wisely.
Right.
They're very safe. It's kind of like saying a supplement in a way. What I like about them too is I really see them work for people, and the fact that there's different protocols for different peptides. But people feel better whether or not it is going back to the brain, cognitive function, immune function, et cetera. So I feel like that's really going to be the push or the wave of the future is peptides as people look at like ways to help heal themselves without necessarily going the traditional prescription, big pharma model.
Okay. And then they do injections. Is that because you get better absorption than you would if you took it as a pill form?
Exactly. Yeah. For most of them, injections are a better form.
Okay.
Because of the absorption. There's some that you do take via a pill because if you want to help with gut health.
I see.
There is one called BPC 157. That's a popular one. That one, if you take by pill, it helps heal the gut. But for the majority, that one as well, you can also inject it. So we use that if someone has an acute injury, we can inject it close to the site of injury.
I see.
And it helps heal. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that you've had me on NAD plus for years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I absolutely am a huge advocate for it. When I went back to graduate school, I really think it helped sharpen my mental acuity. I think with athletic performance and recovering from half marathons, I think it was really a big game changer for me.
Yeah, yeah. The NAD is great. It's a coenzyme. It helps your body do its job in the fact that it helps your ADP of your cells kind of activate the energy pack of your cells. So the NAD has been very beneficial for so many people. Whether, yes, exactly what you're saying is studying, going back to school, recovery, cognitive health. They're actually using high doses for addiction as well. So,
Really?
yeah. So alcoholism, drug addiction, et cetera. Now, this is under the supervision of a doctor and high doses of IV therapy of NAD.
See. Okay.
Yeah, but it's really helping with that as well. So there's many different kind of methods, whether it's subcutaneous, meaning a little insulin shot,
Right.
whether it's IV, which is another way to get the NAD. They're debatable about oral NAD, kind of what we were going back earlier. It doesn't work as well. So sometimes I know a lot of companies are claiming, buy a supplement NAD, but the science isn't really there because as it passes through the stomach GI tract, you may not be absorbing very much.
Doesn't do as much for you.
Yeah.
So take us back to semaglutide and Mounjaro. I know that I've always led a pretty healthful life, but when I hit menopause a couple years ago, it was really hard for me. I struggled with like that 5 pounds coming off and 5 pounds coming on. And I know I've done it intermittently and it's really been a useful tool for me. Do you see that is helpful for people that have just a little bit to lose or people that are severely obese or perhaps both?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really both. So it was FDA approved for type 2 diabetes, both Ozempic and Mounjaro.
Okay.
And they realized it was not only helping with blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C, but it was helping people lose weight.
Okay.
So both of the drug companies came up with Wegovy, which is Ozempic's kind of sister, if you will, and then Zepbound, which is Mounjaro's sister, 2 different drug companies for obesity.
Okay.
So that was FDA approved for obesity. Now what we're realizing is both of these drugs, these GLP-1, GLP-2, is helping with inflammation. So anytime you can help someone with inflammation, any body with inflammation,
right,
that's really the key to health and longevity. So I really see these medications, especially microdosing, meaning having a very small amount of these medications, is really going to be a game changer in the field of longevity medicine. I personally microdose tirzepatide, which is the Mounjaro. My inflammatory markers, I tell people the proof is in the pudding, meaning when you get your lab, your blood work done, you can see the benefits.
Right.
And so my inflammatory markers are down. I feel better. The science is there, and there's so many published articles that it's actually helping with perimenopause symptoms.
Wow.
So kind of going back to the hot flashes and hormonal changes and, anxiety, et cetera. If you could regulate your blood sugar levels, it will help with those symptoms. So even microdosing anyone in, semaglutide or tirzepatide,
right,
and HRT is almost like this
formula.
beautiful, formula, to help women, and the same thing with men. The same thing, microdosing. So I think they're great. As long as they're done correctly. You always see things.
Hollywood's on a different level, right? So
Hollywood,
you can see some. Media. Right, exactly.
But it is true that people do need to, I always tell my clients it's so essential to work out, to build muscle, right? Because as we know, muscle mass is kind of the key as we get older to have a healthy life.
Right.
So if we don't build muscle on these medications, meaning if we don't actively do weight-bearing exercises, we can lose fat, yes, but we can also lose muscle.
Right.
Which we don't want to do.
No, and I think it's just really, it's a whole lifestyle, isn't it? I mean, you can't sustain yourself on just using medication, rather than actually making a change to your lifestyle.
Yeah, this is just one piece of the puzzle, the medications definitely help with that food noise, food chatter, I call it, that part of the brain that wants, if we either want the candy bars or, want the chips with satiety. So it kind of turns off that kind of
desire for some of those not so good things to us.
Not so good things, exactly. And then it also tells our, it also helps tell our stomach or that we're full as well. So it makes us full faster.
Okay.
And then signals to our brain that we're satiated. And so that's what it's actually doing. That's what, as a client, you'll notice, meaning, or someone who takes it, or that's what I notice myself. But what it's doing, kind of, again, going back to the inflammation, that's really the key is why a lot of people are doing this. So I know rheumatologist friends that are recommending low dose tirzepatide for autoimmune conditions.
Wow.
Again, to help, joint swelling, joint pain, aches. Cardiologists are using it for cardioprotective. There's new studies about dementia, Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's has kind of been known now as type 3 diabetes.
Wow. So it's all kind of interrelated, isn't it? There's a lot of benefits, not just weight loss, but mental benefits. And I had no idea that it was helpful with dementia and Alzheimer's.
There's new studies out there. Yeah. Because if you can, again, reduce inflammation of the brain and help with blood glucose levels to kind of stabilize, then, will help with cognition.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Now, what about vitamin injections? I mean, I know when you go into Sprouts, sometimes they'll say, you want a vitamin B shot? Right. Tell us a little bit more about that. And is it helpful to have a shot or an IV, or what's really the difference with that?
Yeah, sure. So the gold standard would be having an IV, meaning, it goes right in the bloodstream. You get the medication right then and there. However, most of us, don't really have time to go get the IVs, on a weekly basis,
and it takes about an hour or so, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could take about an hour. Exactly. Some even take longer, depending on the vitamin, but yes, it takes a while. Plus it's more costly as well. So it could cost, $250, $300, per session. So for a lot of people, it just makes it more difficult to get an IV.
Right.
Kind of going back to, having, supplements by mouth, who knows how much is being absorbed. So kind of going on the opposite end, getting supplements and swallowing the pill, so to speak. We just don't know if you're really absorbing any of it. And so that's why I like the injections. We do it in the muscle. Most people, when I talk to them, they do feel better, after their vitamin B shot or their glutathione, depending on which one. We have many different vitamins, B complex, meaning all the different Bs. Lysine, which helps with skin and also helps with cold sores, actually. We have glutathione. It's called the master antioxidant. That's a very good one. Just kind of helps people feel better, detoxification.
Boost your immune system.
Yeah, exactly. Boost your immune system. So there's different types of vitamin injections. There's always debates. Some people feel, waste of time, waste of money, so to speak. However, a lot of people, the science shows, or people have been enjoying them. And when I say enjoying them, they feel the benefits.
Right.
So I want to say enjoy, and I know I feel better myself. And most of the people who I give vitamin injections feel better themselves. So, again, if the proof is in the pudding, how people feel.
Exactly. It's worth a try for a little extra energy, right?
Yeah, for a little extra energy. Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about an infrared sauna. And what about red light therapy? Is that the same? Is it different?
Yeah, so we also have red light therapy devices, so handheld devices that either people can take home or do in the office. So there are different wavelengths of red light, and there's also blue light. The red light helps with collagen production, called healthy aging.
Okay.
And then blue light we use for acne,
really?
acneic skin. And so the different wavelengths help to penetrate it at different levels and kind of either kill bacteria if it's an acne. Usually we think of teenagers, so to speak, but also perimenopausal women, tend to get a lot of acne anyway. So it helps kill the bacteria, the blue light, and the red light helps with collagen production. So those are, as far as biohacking, some great ways, to help make the skin feel better or look, aesthetically look better. And also, to help with acne. So there's different, lights as well. I know a lot of colleagues are using chromotherapy or light therapy for different healing techniques. Which is, I always find fascinating. We understand like sunlight is such a great,
it's so great for us. Well, for mood and so many other things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of like a client experience, if someone was going to come to see you at Biotique, what can they expect during a first visit? What would that look like?
Yeah, sure. So we have them first fill out an intake form. I want to know all about them, so to speak, like why they want to see me, what they're looking to achieve, what are their maybe things that aren't optimized in their life? What are things that they want to improve? What are things that are working?
Right.
And so, detailed intake. And then we meet in my office, kind of discuss all this. Everyone has a story how they got this way, or when I say this way, I mean, we're all human.
Yes.
And so, really to try to understand, how I can help them better, how it could be a service. I always like to say, my name's Leah Brown, nurse practitioner. How can I be of service?
Right.
And, just find out, how can I help them? Why are they here? And so it's about a 45-minute, we kind of discuss their journey, whether it is the weight loss, whether it is inflammation, whether it is low libido, whether it's, anxiety, depression, lack of energy, or even pain. The PMF is great for pain. So, really all walks of life. And I do see, kids, they enjoy, when I say they enjoy, for the PMF, like healing.
They feel better.
Yeah, they feel better. And it's very safe for kids. I think my 95-year-old,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's really detailed intake, a detailed conversation, consultation.
Right.
And then we come up with a game plan. So together, I always, of course, there's things I recommend, but if they're not willing to do it, it's not going to work, in the sense that if I'm saying you need to go and lift heavy weights and they don't want, they choose not to, I realize that's not going to work. So let's come up with a plan that you want to do as well.
You're comfortable with.
And so we could both be on board, and then we could see the results for you.
Chart an action plan.
Exactly. Chart an action plan.
So then I always call the budget the 6-letter word, which I think is worse than the 4-letter word, really.
Yeah.
I mean, in all reality, we all don't have an endless supply of funding to do all these great things. So I would assume then in a consultation is the time that you would kind of prioritize their goals and figure out where they'd want to spend the money and where they'd get the most return.
Yeah, exactly. So we just developed new customized plans for people, because at first when we started, or even, up until 2 years ago, kind of piecemealing the services together, so to speak. But what I realized, exactly what you're saying, most people want a little bit of everything, or could benefit from a little bit of everything, meaning PMF, the infrared sauna, pain management, Manjaro or Zepbound, hormone replacement, like I was saying, everything kind of works well together. Mm-hmm. And so now putting together personalized plans for people have been a real game changer. So I find that works the best, NAD therapy, along with their HRT. So that's kind of what we're going towards in that direction. Kind of, again, that model of everyone's unique. So let's create a customized plan. So that's what I do after the end of the consultation. Write down, or address, okay, what's most important, A, B, and C.
Okay, I see. Spread the budget that way.
Exactly. Spread the budget that way. Like what's the most bang for your buck?
Right. Which is key, really, for so many people. Now, do you guys, I know you were doing open house events, and those were a great way for people to come in and experience Biotique, try out some of the modalities that you had firsthand.
Yeah.
So maybe, do you guys have any of those coming up, or maybe summertime?
Yeah, probably in summer. Yes. We love the open houses. It's a lot of fun to meet new people and just to thank our current customers for everything they do for us as well. So we have some devices. One's called Neo, M-Face, M-Cella, which are great cutting edge devices that really help. One's for pelvic floor and sexual health. One's to help build muscle, and the other one's more strictly aesthetic for the face to help not only build muscle in the face, but help stimulate collagen. So those we get kind of sample at these events, and I kind of going with biohacking. People want an alternative than just surgery, looking at some of those.
Something less drastic,
right? Where they don't have to spend, so much time recovering, et cetera. So a lot of open houses, we offer that. We do offer vitamin injections, consultation. So I think this summer we're putting one on the books for us. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, you've had so many great little nuggets for us that you've offered, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you see the future. You were talking a lot about peptides really being at the forefront, and it's almost like these modalities that you have are really helping our bodies create more of what we were creating more of before. And as we age, we're not doing that as much. Mm-hmm. Kind of seems like we're helping our bodies kind of recreate more of what we used to rather than such dramatic changes.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what I see the forefront with this peptide therapy is we want to find ways we all want to feel better. I think that's the bottom line. We all want to feel better. What are ways we can feel better? So with these peptides, it really helps us support our own body by giving it energy, by giving it the tools it needs, by helping with mitochondria health. So it's all kind of supporting what we already have in our body to be the best version of Leah,
Right.
be the best version of Adrian possible, be the best version, so that way we can really feel the best we can. We want to age, again, when we age, we don't want, no one wants to be crippled or feel, pain, right? Or not be able to hug their grandchild, it's one of those, or lift them up, so to speak. So we're kind of looking at long-term, meaning, okay, when I am older, I want to be strong, I want to be powerful. I want my cognition, my brain, I
Absolutely.
want to be, right? I want my immune. So I kind of looking ahead in that respect, energetic, right? So, I think really peptides are the way to go. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of, people are like, Leah, I never heard of peptides. It's just because it's almost like supplements where there's not a lot of money for big pharma.
I see.
Not
as much marketing out there.
Not as much marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like having vitamin B, there's not a lot of money in vitamin B for big pharma to capitalize on that.
I see. So how do you stay up to date on all of these different treatments and...
Yeah. So I go, when I say we, my team and I and myself, I go to many conferences. I'm going to one all about peptides in June, June 13th. It's the world, one of the most famous ones, but it's in Las Vegas, World Peptide Congress. So all the speakers will be talking about the future of peptides, which is exciting, and kind of how to biohack, how to utilize peptides with red light therapy, or to take treatment and use peptides in conjunction with another treatment. So how to optimize these. So I really like learning. I've been taking a lot of classes through other group I'm associated with, Elite Nurse Practitioner Association. So it's a group that really all around the country, all around the world of nurse practitioners, and there's a lot of training there. So I love learning. I think it's important to keep on up to date.
It's ever changing, right?
Ever changing, yeah, and especially with the hormones. Going back, there was this study. A lot of people were on, a lot of women, hormone replacement therapy, and then there was this study in the 90s that were saying, oh no, hormones, estrogen causes breast cancer. I don't know if you heard of that, but
I did.
Yeah.
So they were doing not just the estrogen, but the progesterone with it.
Yes. And they were saying, meaning there was a quote unquote like faulty study that came out that said, if you do hormone replacement therapy, you're going to have a higher risk of breast cancer.
Really?
And so all of a sudden, all these women and OBGYNs and, doctors, experts took all their women off of HRT because of this faulty. Well, we know it's faulty now. I mean, it's public that it's faulty, but
back then they didn't know.
Yeah. Exactly. Back then they thought, oh my goodness, we've been giving all these women HRT and it's going to cause breast cancer. So now, when I say now, about 5 years ago, they realized no. Even before that, a lot of experts realized that was based on faulty data and kind of bad science, if you will.
Wow.
And, but once when something has a bad reputation,
it's hard to overcome that.
It's hard to overcome. And so now a lot of experts are like, shouting from the roofs, please, please, please. Actually, estrogen prevents breast cancer. Actually, hormone replacement therapy helps one to live longer.
Right. And feel so much better.
So, kind of going back to like there's, old ways of thinking. And there's some doctors who, still think that way, meaning OBGYNs who still think that way. So it's just re-education. Going back to education is getting that, we constantly need to, let's go back, let's educate ourselves of like the literature and stay up to date.
Yeah, that's like an ever-changing game. You've got to really be on top of all of that. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Leah, for stopping by today and sharing so much more. I really encourage our listeners to reach out to Leah at Biohacker. I know that it's been a game changer for me to get off that last 5 and 10 pounds. And I've really felt a lot better with the NAD+. And it makes sense now when you're talking about the inflammation, because I definitely felt like my hips were a little bit sore and things like that. So it's definitely helped me. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I love I love what I do, and being a part of this community. So thank you so much for having me here.
well, thank you. Well, that's it, San Diego. Until next time, thank you for listening.